Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland, an Arsenal podcast. I'm Gimli, and tonight my guests are, first up, resident fat man and king of the producers, it's Danny the GFP.
What was that going to be before you changed it to producers? It's going to be something mean, wasn't it?
I can't tell you because there's an adult warning on this for a reason, and
Okay.
this even, it outgoes that. It's just
Does
too
it?
rude.
Yeah, this is my 9th pod since last Thursday.
Do you know what? If I was you, take up wanking.
You did 7.
7?
You
When
did
did
5
I do...
midweek, and then last Thursday and this Thursday.
Oh, maybe I should take up...
We feel like dirty strumpets
Well, no, all we're doing is giving them, a little bit of what they need.
in their ears.
Yeah, it's their heroin for the ears.
Oh, lovely. Apply with a cotton earbud.
Speaking of heroin, it's definitely my heroin. The Jim White of podcasting is Geoff Arsenal.
Cool, you just caught me there. You normally leave me till lastminute.com. What happened now? I was on mute for a second there.
Do you know what I thought? We'll start off with...
He's mixing
you
it up.
first.
See how quick I was, though, to get in, though.
Hey, I remember the old days, it had been an hour of you on mute.
Such a professional. Yes, you're very true. Very true. Don't remind me.
Change you do you good, Geoff. You're first this week.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, it makes a change. Oh, well, I'm top of the predictions league, by the way. Get that little plug in.
That 50 quid cleared, Geoff, so you've now got a bonus 100 points.
I'm 10 points behind you now.
Yeah, you're done, mate. You're done.
I'm incredibly sad.
Raj, the Reverend, he's slowly, he's
Reeling
battling
you in.
I've got him firmly in my eye. And another man I have firmly in my eye is a man that's drunk on Arsenal. It's Goonaholic. Hello, David.
Good evening, nice to be here again. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have you here. The oracle of At the AFC podcast.
Oh, I don't know about that.
You are.
Oldest? I don't know about Oracle. It starts with O, I'll give you that.
Geoff supplied the class on the podcast. Then you came along and we fucked him off. I've only put him top tonight to massage the ego a little bit. Isn't that right, Geoff?
I know where I stand in the pecking order, don't you worry.
Right, and finally, everyone's favourite pirate, just because he are. It's Kris Carpenter.
Just because he are? That doesn't work.
Because he is.
It doesn't have to make sense. I fucking write it. It doesn't have to make sense.
It's a bloody good job, isn't it?
And bless me, the condition that I was in when I did write it, it made perfect sense.
Chris, you know what, as it happens, I'm sorry to butt in here, but you know what, I can't remember being on a podcast with you for a long, long while where you've mentioned the Pirates. How are they getting on? Have they been relegated or something, or what?
No, Geoff, true story. We have not played any game since the third week of November. They've been rained off every week. That's a legit story. We've
Can
had
you use your back garden, Geoff? That's big enough.
every single game rained off. Unfortunately, the weather down here in the southwest is not the best.
You've got to move, mate. You've got to move.
Well, there's 3G pitches and they're all booked, and the grass pitches are all soaked. So we're still alive. We're still a franchise.
And
How are you doing? Any good?
Well, we've only played 6 games all season. Sorry, 5 games actually. If you exclude the cup, we're in the cup quarterfinals. We've won 3 and lost 2 in the league. So, yeah, we're doing all right, mate.
There's
You
going to
still
be a lot
remember-
of double headers in April.
Oh, we're going to play 4 times a week. These professionals, they got it easy, Dave. I tell you, it's going to
I
be.
remember it.
It'll be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday in April, May. I guarantee it.
Can you still remember the players' names?
I can barely remember my own name.
Sorry,
to be honest,
long time, mate. Long
Yeah.
time.
Tell me
Anyway,
about it.
we digress.
And Chris, just the last bit on the Pirates. Can you confirm that your star striker got leprosy and his legs fell off?
No, but he is undergoing ego treatment therapy. It all
Fucking
went to his head.
That's
And,
the last time that I read a Daily Mirror story.
he was caught staggering out of crystals with a nose full of Charlie, and it's all gone off.
The last time he was seen was pissed up down Union Street with a tart under one arm and a prostitute in the other.
Arr.
Oh, Union Street, don't remind me.
I try and forget.
First up, then, we'll go over to Danny as we always do with all of the scores across the board and a loan watch. Don't fucking tell.
fucked it up.
No, I thought I hadn't done it. I did it so early. I did it about 4 o'clock today. I thought I hadn't done it. Right. Someone has said that they like it and they want us to be a little bit more in detail, so we've got an extra few seconds. Jenkinson, West Ham paid £2 million to get him on loan from us. He's knackered his knee. West Ham have cancelled the injury. Cancelled the injury? Yeah, they've healed him. They put hands on him. No, they've cancelled the loan, and the Moose from TalkSport tweeted a picture of him and Jenkinson and said, yeah, they've cancelled the loan. Another loan has been cancelled, Serge Gnabry. He'd only played 12 minutes for that half a season, so they're looking to get him out on loan. The transfer loan window reopens again for Championship teams and below this Tuesday, so it looks like Brighton, Charlton or Fulham are all interested in. But, he's only 20.
Yeah.
Only 20 years old. He's supposed to be a baby. Damian Martinez, Wolverhampton Wanderers, drew 2-2 at home to Bolton Wanderers. He wasn't in the squad, but Wellington Silva, he only bloody scored, didn't he? Played the full game, didn't he?
What a hero.
I'll tell you what, I don't believe it. So it's just time to retire. I mean, if he can score, then anyone can score. Ashley Maitland-Niles.
Conservative.
Thank you very much.
Conservative.
They won 2-1 at home to Reading, and he played right midfield and came off at half-time now. I've done a bit of an Alta Vista, because I don't do the Googling, and I can't find any information on why he came off at half-time, because he's one of their better players, and they're making a good run. Chupa Chupa Apcom, still nowhere to be seen at Hull. He's been dropped because he scored a hat-trick at the weekend. Oh, I didn't include the FA Cup games, did I? Anyway, yeah. He scored a hat-trick at the weekend. I think they played Bury. That was it. So he played in that, but I think he's not going to be seen much in the first team because he's only scored 2 or 3 goals in the league. But Isaac Hayden, he started and he played 71 minutes and he played in central midfield, in a midfield 2, and he was taken off for the Huddleston. Super John Terrell, future, Brazil legend this week. 0-0 away at Bristol City, which is a good result for them because Bristol City are a bit rubbish. John started in the Ozil position but came off after 34 minutes. I thought, another injury. So then, this is a tweet, a message from the Birmingham City. John Terrell's knee injury does not appear to be as bad as Birmingham City feared, and according to Gary Rowett, the playmaker still has a chance of facing Sheffield Wednesday this weekend. So that's good news. Down to League One, Glenn Kamara, Southend United. They went to Shrewsbury Town, beat them 2-1. He was again on the bench, so that's both the games they've played. He was on the bench. Wojciech Szczesny, he was started for Roma. They actually won a game 2-0 away at Sassuolo. I think that's how you say it.
Sassuolo.
That's him. Yaya Sano goals. He was not in the Ajax squad that drew 2-2 with Roda, and his loan was cancelled, and he was sent to the bottom of the Championships team, Charlton Athletic. He wore the shirt number 19 at Ajax, and I've asked Charlton what shirt number he's going to wear. I did a tweet. I've gone and done one of them tweets, and they didn't bloody reply, did they? They're dead to me. Gideon Zelalem.
Na.
The Rangers went to Raith Rovers and won 1-0. Zelalem played on the left. Here we go, a little bit more detail. They play a 3-man midfield, one slightly back, and then like a more of a defensive, and then one either side of him ahead of him. And he played on the left-hand side of that. And he came off after 72 minutes, but he usually does. He doesn't usually play the full 90 minutes because they're usually winning by that point.
He was really good, by the way. I saw that game. He was really good.
They are making a man of him, and he's still only 12, I think. At least he has his own YouTube song, which will probably make him happy. The under-21s, they were away at Stoke, and we won 3-1, which is nice, because everybody wins away at Stoke, apart from Arsenal first team. Stefan Mavidi got 2 goals. That's his 7th goal in 10 under-21 league games, not the League Cup games or any of those other ones. And Marcus McGuane, M-C-G-U-A-N-E, never heard of him. He scored the 3rd goal, and we're 3rd, still 2 points behind the leaders Derby, and I think we've got 2 games in hand. So that's looking very good. The under-18s lost 3-2 at Villa. I don't know how that happens. Nathan Teller scored and Eddie Nikita scored, which is his 13th in 18 games. So we have a young man who can score goals, which is always nice to see. And we're now 6th with 12 points behind Chavsky. So hopefully my audio's okay for that. If it's too loud, then no one go accusing me of being horrible, because it makes me sad.
I'm not. No one's going to accuse you of being horrible. That was very in depth. I liked it.
Yeah, I was trying to find their shirt numbers as well.
I mean,
and what positions they're playing.
It really looks like you've gone to great lengths.
I did. The lengths I've went to were indeed quite great.
Wonderful stuff.
Yes.
We'll start proceedings then by talking about our 2-1 FA Cup win at home to Burnley. David, if you'd like to start us off.
Goodness me, can I remember back that far? I had a couple of pints after the game. We had a birthday celebration or two going on. It was a very enjoyable evening. Naturally, the game itself was very enjoyable. We made a little bit of a meal of it, you might say, if you look at the 2-1 scoreline. But the game itself was quite entertaining. Burnley didn't come and do what you expected them to do. They came and played a little bit. They started with Joey Barton on the bench, which meant that the game was remarkably clean. There was no cards until midway through the second half, and then it didn't get really nasty until Barton was brought on for the last few minutes. So I was quite impressed with Burnley, but we made 9 changes, which we expected beforehand, and that meant that when we took the lead, it came as a result of the second goal of the career of Callum Chambers, who scored his first against Burnley in the home match last season in the Premier League, and it was a bloody wonderful goal too. Interplay between Iwobi and Alexis on the edge of the box, and a superbly stroked in little curler from the right hand side I don't know, is he swinger? But certainly with the outside the foot, it was a lovely finish, and he joked afterwards he'd been watching Alexis in training. Then Burnley went and spoiled it all by getting an equaliser, and you did get some grumbling in the stands, but not an awful lot. But those Vokes got above Chambers and Gabriel. They made a bit of a mishap. What am I talking about? Hash of it between them. And he basically got a free header. There was nothing Czech could have done about it. But the second half really was all just us. And it was only, I think it was about 8-9 minutes in when we got the next one. It was a wonderful strike by Alexis to end off a great move that once again featured Iwobi, who was surprised. Well, not perhaps surprisingly, he played in the Ozil role in the third round tie against Sunderland. And he played there again on Saturday. And I tell you, to my eye, and I know it's only 2 games, and I know it's against poor opposition, but the boy looks as though he's got something about him going forward. And I think by the time Ozil comes to the end of his contract or decides to move on, I think we've got a ready-made replacement sitting there.
He was absolutely superb on the day. But another player that we were all calling out for on last Thursday's podcast was the debut of Mohamed El Nene. Kris, you watched the game, you saw El Nene. How did he do? Was he good? Did he impress you? I know it's early doors, but just a quick analysis of his performance.
Yeah, just a brief one. Yeah, he does look good. I mean, everything that a lot of people scouting, myself included, have seen at Basel. I think he certainly tried to bring that to us. He's energetic. He's fairly composed. One of the things I really liked about him actually was I think one of the very first things he did in the game was make a foul. And I know that sounds like a very weird thing to say, but it showed to me that he's happy to stick his foot in. It was sort of just midway inside our half, and he put his shoulder across the attacking player, stepped in front, won the ball actually, but the referee sort of deemed it as a foul, and I kind of like that. And he reacted as if he'd been playing for 90 minutes and was really cheesed off that he'd been given all day. So I really like that about him. He's a good athlete. I think he'll give us a bit of an option, a bit of a plan B going forwards. And I know we'll probably touch on Mathieu Flamini later on, but I think once he gets up to speed, and as you rightly said there, it is early days. But once he gets used to the speed of the game, the physicality of the Premier League, I think he'll be a very decent signing. And at 23, he's probably one for the long term as well.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I saw some positive signs for him. He can certainly knock the ball about well. And I think there's a certain level of adjustment that comes with this Arsenal team with the style of play that they do play. They keep the ball down, they knock it about, they're fast counter-attacking football. And I think he just needs to adjust to that. Anyone that, is ruling him out because of price tag or off the back of that game is an absolute idiot. Geoff, we've heard a little bit from Kris about El Nene. How did you rate his performance?
I think he did very well. He was very tidy. He looked quite aggressive. You can imagine what it's like when playing at the Emirates for the first time in a new team. You've got to imagine what it's like. It's like a dream for him to play in such a massive stadium at a big club, representing a big club. You could see that enthusiasm he had as soon as he come on the pitch. He was doing, in fact, too much pressing, if you get what I mean. He was getting, caught upfield a lot. But no, he was very tidy, and that's what I like. A player that can come into an Arsenal team and keep the ball very well, which is our possession is what our game's all about. And and he didn't look out of place, And I was impressed with the Ox. A lot of He's got a lot of stick over the time, but I thought the Ox did well in there as well. And again, Callan Chambers on at right back. I think he did very well. I mean, I'm a little bit concerned about his pace. I don't know whether you can get any more pace out of the lad, but coming up against a quality team or a quality winger, he might struggle because of that pace. But position-wise, he did very well. And the only downside on the particular game was obviously Thomas coming on, looking really, really bright and lively, and then picking up an injury, which was very, very sad.
And we'll try to touch on Thomas Rosicky later. But certainly, if you believe what John Cross is saying, it might be the last time we ever see Rosicky in an Arsenal shirt. Which is, I mean, from me, I'm a big fan of the player. I think he's been absolutely immense since he joined us, and you can only really wonder what could have been had he not have had all of those injuries hamper his career. But yes, Danny, we'll go to you next, and we've touched on Callum Chambers and his goal. It was a superbly taken finish, wasn't it? And do you think his performance on the day could do anything for his starting hopes in future?
Maybe as I think he's the only right back we've got left at the club now. Haven't we? Jenkinson's injured and Deboichi is taking his coffee and he's buggered off. So if Bellerin needs a rest or we're going to get the odd cup game, then he'll definitely get a game there. And I think that the goal was absolutely brilliant. For some reason, when I was watching it on the internet, they didn't show a replay of it, and I didn't really take much notice. And I thought, oh, he scored. Was it just a tap-in? Oh, it wasn't a tap-in, was it? It was a glorious goal. That's the kind of goal you can dine out on for many years. It's something to be proud of. And it's great because he is a bit of when you're that young, you are a confidence player. And just to score a goal like that is just going to be so good for the lad. But now it brings up the question of, well, is he a centre-back? Is he a right-back? Is he a defensive midfielder? I think I read a tweet a while ago that said he's the new Flamini. He just plays wherever you want him to play. So I don't think that's helped him cement what position he wants to take up. But with El Neni coming in, I think that's kind of also put the kibosh on him being a defensive midfielder. I think maybe Wenger does see him as a centre-back or right-back. That's the main two positions he's going to want him in. So, yes.
And Alexis, Kris, it was obviously his first start for, I think, nearly 2 months. And he was lively throughout, wasn't he? And eventually he got the winner. How good was he? I mean, just how much of a difference does he make to this Arsenal team when he plays?
I mean, it makes a massive difference. I mean, it's the work rate, it's the application. He's one of those players that to quote a sort of an old-fashioned saying, gets the other players to pull at the bootstraps around him. He's inspirational, and I think if you're a player that is in a team with Alexis and you're potentially being a bit of a passenger, I think you look at him and think, Christ, I better get my skates on here because I'm going to be shown up for not doing anything if I don't start putting the effort in. And his ability to sort of pick the right pass, his runs, he did look sharp for a guy who's only just come back in. I'm pretty sure that the manager would have loved to have used him in a better scenario against Chelsea. Obviously, we've done that one to death, but I think that was unfortunate because he looked sharp in that game, but obviously couldn't influence it because of the 10 men. But he's a very, very good footballer. My only sort of concern with Alexis always is that I do get concerned that he does try the same trick over and over again, which is a worry because teams sort of do get wise to that. But then Sergio Aguero is the same, and he seems to be doing all right. So yeah, I think having him fit will be a massive bonus. I wonder if he might even end up playing a few games up front for us towards the end of the season because again we'll touch on Theo later, I'm sure. But he's an all-round sort of motivational player, and he's world class. He's a genuine world class talent, and I think. If every Premier League team was honest, he'd walk straight into their lineups as well as ours.
I don't know. I totally agree with you. And I think another thing we should really touch on in the game is Theo Walcott, and David will come to you next. I think regardless of what his performance was on the day, which was fairly unforgettable, really, but what we're going to remember is him at the end, and I think it's pretty clear in all of our heads, is when he was clean through at the end, all he had to do was square it to El Nene for an open goal, and he got tackled in the same Walcott fashion. Are fans really entitled to be so frustrated with him at the moment? I mean, this week I've had to argue with someone on Twitter who openly tweeted abuse at him, and I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, he probably knows that he's not in very good form. So to tweet him abuse is doing absolutely no favours whatsoever. But what's your take, David, on the whole Theo Walcott scenario?
I'm with you entirely on the abuse business. I think it's great. I think that as supporters, we kind of forget now and again that players have runs of form, and form could be good and bad. The value of your investment can rise as well as fall, or fall as well as rise. And he's kind of not come back from his injury particularly well so far, has he? And whether it's a confidence thing, whether it's he's not happy about not playing as the central striker, or he's just kind of generally out of funk and needing to get match fitness, I don't know. There's no doubt he's not the Theo Walcott that we know can play, but it's at the moment that shouldn't be an issue for us because we have got players who can do that role until he gets his mojo back again.
Would you say he's almost a victim of his own decisions? I mean, as a right winger, you're expected to chip in with a certain amount of goals this season, but of course when you play up front, it doesn't matter how good you are in a game. If you set up 15 goals in a couple of games, you will always be judged as a striker on the goals that you score. So do you think he's not necessarily done himself any favours with a position change from the right wing?
I don't know about that. We haven't got any option but to play him there at the moment because Olivier Giroud was doing so well until recent weeks and has made the place his own. But going forward, I think there's a problem. Some of the supporters have got a problem that they see a guy miss the chance that he missed in the last few minutes, and then they relate it to the fact that he's a £140,000 a week player. And as I said earlier, you don't get the understanding that players do have good spells and they do have bad spells. He's going through a bad one. He's going to have to find a way to play himself out of it, or he won't be playing much for the rest of the season.
I totally agree with you. I think he is very much in the same bracket with Aaron Ramsey. When things are going bad, they are going really bad. But when things are going good, he looks like an absolute worldie. Geoff, what's your thoughts on Theo?
Well, you know what? It's now time that the Theo really has got to step up. He's got a chance at Arsenal to really have a good go and make a proper career out of it, because it's been stop-start. For 10 years he's been with us. He's got 80 goals in 10 years, and that's really not good enough, to be perfectly honest with you. There's a stat out there somewhere. I think he's very, very close to playing as many games as a lot of our top stars that have gone before. And I can't remember. I think it might have been Righty or someone like that on games like that. You playing a lot of games. He's played a lot of games for Arsenal, and to be honest with you, it's about time now that he's got to fix it. I see a Theo Walcott. He's always hiding. He doesn't seem like he's got any confidence. He should be hungry for the ball, but I see him hiding away in the corners. He doesn't really want to receive the ball. You can just see his body language. It's not right, and it is now time that he has got to step up. Otherwise, I'm afraid, we can't wait anymore. We can't keep on persevering. And Wenger, one thing I do criticise him about, he keeps on and keeps on with these players. He does believe in them. That's all well and good, but there has got to be a limit. And we are now that team that does need all our players function correctly on the football pitch to get the success and to compete against the big teams. We can't have any passengers anymore. And unfortunately, Theo, for the last few weeks, has been a passenger.
Do you think, Geoff, that if there was adequate cover from the bench, that he would almost certainly not play?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because, you see glimpses of Theo Walcott. I mean, we haven't over the last few weeks, don't get me wrong, but you do, the Man City game and games in the past, you do see, sometimes when he hasn't got to think about it and he goes bursting through, you think, wow, what a player. And I've said it in the past, I think the kid has got the lot. If he could if he could believe in himself, so to speak. I believe in him more than what he does, and I think Arsene does as well. But it's about time that he believes in himself and just has a go.
I think there was a certain amount of desperation, like I said, at the end of the Burnley game, and it sticks in my mind. Out of all the things away from the game, it was a 2-1. We're through to the next round. I'm a happy camper. But in regards to Theo Walcott, I can't shake that from my head that he was clean through, and it is what everyone was talking about. Not the win, that Theo Walcott clean through on goal. All he had to do was make a simple pass and square it to Al Neni, which, £140,000 a week player should be easily able to do, and he fucked it up. And there seems to be too much of that from him. And is it the desperation, do you think, Kris, to try and get on the score sheet, to try and get the goals to make the stats?
Desperation. I mean, it's really hard to tell. Excuse me, with Theo. I mean, he just looks like a guy who's, like Geoff said, he seems to be a confidence player, but I'm not sure that. I'm not sure that can be used as an excuse. It's definitely a contributing factor. But a player, what really worries me with Theo is that he still seems to be making the mistakes that he made years ago. He does seem to be a player that has only got one dimension, and the one thing that he's got over most teams is pace, which is, it's not easy to stop. In fact, it's one of the hardest things to stop. But when the player makes the same run, it's very easy to set an offside trap, which we've seen time and time again. It's very easy to marshal one defender against him, as we've seen, particularly with Chelsea, for example. So, although pace is hard to stop, it isn't if the player does the same thing over and over and over again. And I think, particularly with the game, the Burnley game, when you saw him go through, and indeed the Southampton game as well, but particularly the Burnley chance, he goes through a goal, and you never really truly felt that he was going to be able to finish that by going round the goalkeeper. If he takes it early, plants it bottom corner, you think, yeah, that's probably what Theo is good at. Get the ball out of his feet, race on, finish. But the minute he tries to do anything that is, remotely sort of skill or try and dummy a goalkeeper, you never feel confident he's going to be able to do it. And some of the goals that he has beaten the goalkeeper with, they're either the goalkeeper's committed early and he's dinked them, or he's kind of gone round them, fallen over his own feet, and then putting the ball in the net. So I just worry about the progression, and I worry that maybe this is a big call, but I worry he's gone a bit stale. Maybe the time is right to look at whether there are better options out there. I'm not saying that we should sell him immediately or, throw him under the bus, but I just wonder if a change would do him good, because he does seem to be a player that's stale and not learning from the same mistakes, and we're seeing it week after week.
You know what I don't see from Theo, which is amazing really, because he should have developed his game over the years. I don't even see a trick from him anymore. Like we've had some great wingers in the past, Anders Limpar, Overmars, and they had blistering pace as well. But they had a trick in them. Even Henri, he'd run up to you and he'll stop the ball and then bang, he'll burst past you again. Theo has got that pace, there's no doubt about it. But it's about the confidence to just run up to someone, show him the ball and say, come on, let's have a straight race, bang. Or, drop the shoulder. You don't really see that from Theo. It's unless he's played in behind, that's when we've got a chance with him. If he's back to the ball, he struggles. It's just really, really, it's strange, and I can't understand how he hasn't really developed his game in that way.
I agree with you, Geoff, and I think the only thing I'd add to that as well is that I think Theo Walcott's game was suited to the 90s, and what I mean by that was he would be perfect in a combination. If you put Theo Walcott in Leicester's team, for example, where you've got two out-and-out centre forwards, I think he works better, because you've got, if you had him and Giroud as an out-and-out centre forward pair, I think you've got one that potentially wins the ball, that flicks it on, that holds it up, and you release the other. As a one, as Geoff said, he's not good enough at holding the ball up, and the trick element. The thing with the offsides is what does me the most, because he's so fast. He could give a defender 5 yards easily. He could give him a 5-yard start, and when you've got a player of Mesut Ozil's class and technical ability and vision to put a pass, we're not talking like 2 or 3 yards ahead. Mesut will put it literally on your instep wherever you want the ball. And surely Theo must think, you know what, I'll just hold my run and then I'll go. And if he explodes, he's in behind and no one's catching him. But yet time after time, he doesn't look along the line, and then you get that football brain come back again. It's just so frustrating, because I think there's a player there, but I've been thinking that for 10 years.
But we saw a player, you say a 90s player, we saw a 2010 player in the first half against Manchester United when he was playing with his face towards their goal throughout, where he was doing all the pressing and he had the entire back four absolutely bricking it. So he has still got it, but the injury has taken something away from him that he's not recovered from yet. And I do take Geoff's point. He's got to find it. He's got to find it fast. But there is a player there that we can use.
He needs to Anelka it, doesn't he, Dave? I think that's
yeah.
Anelka had the pace, but Anelka also had that ability to use his brain to get in positions and to
Good
get
analogy.
the trick. Yeah,
He might just be a late starter, and when he might get to 28 and the penny will drop, and he'll think, all of a sudden he becomes that player. Whether he's going to be last till 28 or not with Arsenal, waiting, I don't know. But he might be one of those guys that hits 28 and all of a sudden he's matured and he's got more confidence in himself. And once you get that, you don't mind taking a few chances. At the minute, he looks scared to make a mistake, and that is when you run into problems. You can't have players that are a little bit bottly out there, believe me.
No, definitely not. Otherwise, you get games like Southampton the other night. But we should talk about as well. The next round of the Cup was drawn, and our old foe Hull. So we'll go back over to Geoff. And what do you make of this? Are you happy with Hull? Because a lot of the fans from around us are saying that it's fixed. We keep getting home ties. Against, and I won't say easy opposition because that's unkind, but against easier opposition than what there is available.
Well, it's definitely not fixed, is it? You see the balls coming out of the pot and everything else. But we maybe was lucky. I honestly thought when there was half a dozen or 6 or 7 teams that was left there, I thought Tottenham was going to come out of the hat.
Oh, you knew it.
On. I thought it was going to be Tottenham away. So that when we got drawn out of the hat first, I thought, oh, thank God for that. Because a home tie is massive. You want to be at home in the FA Cup, and then when Hull come out, I thought, that's a beautiful tie. It's great because they're not a bad outfit. We're going to take them seriously, so he's going to put a decent team out, and we should surely have enough big guns out there to take care of Hull City, shouldn't we? But we're going to have to be on it. But I was delighted with the draw.
No, exactly. Anybody else's reaction to the draw, David, Kris?
I would certainly say I'm delighted with the draw, and I wouldn't moan at all about us getting 3 reasonably straightforward draws to start with this year. When you think in the last couple of seasons we've been pulling Liverpool, Tottenham and the likes out of the hat, I think we were due a season with a bit of good fortune.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree with that, and I think it's a good draw. I know people like the big fixtures, and I know they want to see us play the big sides, but at this stage, particularly when we're going for a championship, I don't want to disrespect Hull, but in the same breath, I'm going to disrespect Hull and just say that it'd be nice for us to be able to put out not necessarily a full-strength side and give a few players a rest. And if you look at, particularly, obviously, one of Chelsea and Manchester City are going to go. Liverpool have still got to come through a replay. Spurs... Okay, you would say it's only Palace, but Palace are good away from home. So you'd like to think that a few big guns might go out, and if we play a strong enough side with the right balance of sort of youth and resting the first team, then hopefully we can get through without too much of a blip.
Is that, Danny? I don't know whether you can look it up quickly. Is that in between a Champions League game or after a Champions League game? Because it's around about that time that we've normally got a Chelsea or someone after.
Just before Barca.
It's the
6 days.
Yeah,
6 days after the Leicester, and then 3 days before Barcelona.
Yeah, so
But can the boys on loan there? Are they cup tied? Are they not allowed to play against us? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, the other thing as well is that Chelsea, Man City, both going into Champions League, they play each other on the 20th, obviously, and City play Spurs the weekend before the cup tie. So it makes you wonder whether those two will look at whether they'll play full-strength sides in the same week as well.
Spurs are playing in the Europa League on a Thursday night.
Yep, absolutely. Spurs Day.
Yeah. And in answer to your question, I understand it's up to us whether the 2 boys are allowed to play or not. If we give our permission, they can, depending on what is in the contract. But if I were us, I would not give them permission, not because you would not want Chuba to score a hat-trick against us, but because you don't want the boys to go through the reaction that they might get from the whole supporters if and when we win the game and they're getting slated for being part of the team that gave up and lost.
Plus, I think you've also got to look at the fact from the club's point of view. If Arsenal go out of the FA Cup with one of their on-loan players scoring the winning goal, that looks bad. That's bad management, isn't it, surely?
Can you imagine all the boys on Twitter? Jesus Christ.
Twitter would just be a precipice of fucking filth and hate.
Are you looking at Twitter at the moment?
I was going to say, isn't that now anyway?
Daily
It's
occurrence, sure.
all
Yeah.
going mental on Twitter at the moment.
What right now?
Yeah.
Wait,
Have you
what
heard about the
about-
ticket prices?
Oh yeah, good deal. So,
No, I mean, they've decided that they're going to charge £19.21 on top of next season ticket because for the if you have a season ticket because because of the Barcelona game. So you get 7 free cup games, but yet they're still charging us for the cup game, and this is on top of the clubs just being given 8.3 billion from the broadcasters, which works out to be £400 million per club.
I think that's an absolute piss take.
Yeah, but I think they always charge you for the
They have
extra
done in
game.
the past.
Yeah.
but
we
this
got
is the
we
sixth
got
game.
surcharged. I can't remember if it was this year or last year when they went over, and we got surcharged because it depends on whether the cup ties are Category A, B, or C. And when Barcelona comes out of the hat, I'm sorry, boys, that ain't a Category C.
But this is some of the stuff that I've just been making notes. Our very own Andrew has put, seems I was right then, lads. Arsenal Football Club has lost touch with the values of it once classed. Values of class it once oozed, all for £945,000. Shame. And then Helena James, but Arsenal charged me an extra £19 on cup ties through next season ticket, adding salt to my suffering. And then John Fairclough, ripping off fans and then treating them with a contempt definitely lacks class. Club has changed from the one I knew. And then Tone the Gooner, woo, £16.11 more on my season ticket for next season, even though I've paid for 7 cup games already. Bit confusing.
But even Raj has put in our WhatsApp group, he's put, to piss people off for 19 quid on the day the TV money is announced, it's unreal banter. We really are shameless. And you've got to agree, there's no way you can... we are more of a business than something that's not back in the days of Highbury supporting the club where, let's be honest, when we were all nippers, we wrote in and, we all got like a signed picture back or whatnot. It just feels like the club are totally out of touch with its fans. And I think this is just another step that proves that. And I think we should give it a decent amount of airtime tonight because it is disgusting.
Well, Raj has sent me this bit. He says, you can also say that now we know why they kept suspending sales for the game all this week. Now, I don't buy tickets, so I don't know, but have they been doing that?
Yeah, they have, yeah.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Would it be fair to say we're not, and this is not excusing it, because I agree with everything that's just been said, we're not alone in this, sure we? I know Liverpool were charging extra for their stand to be.
They're going
built,
from £59 to £77 to sit in the new stand, and that's only that's only for the new stand.
I think
and they're leaving on the 77th minute in the next cup game, or next league game, or the next game. They're all walking out on the 77th minute. Now that's the kind of support that we should do at Arsenal. Everyone just go. Arsenal won't do it.
Some of them do.
Aren't Spurs and City?
They do.
They're quite expensive as well, aren't they, for home games? I think.
Yeah, but to get.
I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying it's the way football seems to be going, and as I say, I'm not. If anything, this should be our opportunity to stand and go right. We are the Arsenal. We won't do this. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem we've taken that approach, and it doesn't seem like anybody else will. Any of the big clubs.
But
I think they've missed a sensible PR opportunity.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
And I agree with Raj's point as well. But actually saying that it's not what it was, well, no, it isn't nowadays.
Sadly,
going to Arsenal is not what we used to go for. We don't get the same out of it that we went because they treat us as consumers. The game has changed. I'm afraid we got to change with it.
It's just odd that at 2 minutes past 8, Ben Rumsby of the Daily Telegraph releases the article about the clubs all getting an extra £400 million each, and then within a few minutes of that Arsenal release that they're going to be paying. When they sent everybody an email, people are saying they're reading the email 2 or 3 times over, and it says, consequently, UEFA Champions League round of 16 fixture against FC Barcelona to be played on Tuesday will be our 7th cup tie credit and of the season, and has been designated a Category A fixture. Due to the number of matches played this season and the categories assigned to them, there will be an additional cost to your season ticket for 16-17 of £16.11. This additional cost will be added to your renewal price for next season. I mean, it's not the fact that how much money it is, it's the fact that they're doing it, and the fact that they've got so much money coming in again, and the fact that they're not spending any money.
It does leave a bad taste in everyone's mouth, doesn't it?
I mean, are people aware about the fact that Kroenke, he owns the LA, used to be called, whatever it is now, it's the LA Rams. I can never remember the team that it was. He's moving them, and he's moving them to a 70,000 all-seater stadium in LA. So the Rams are going back to LA because they were somewhere else. I don't never say Rams. I always think of Derby County, which doesn't really help the situation. So they've just been given permission to go back to LA, and then that massive new stadium. Where's he getting the money from that? Is he leveraging our club and the money that our club is worth doing that? And when's he going to start charging another £3 or £4 million consultancy fees or whatever it is that he charged last time to go and buy another ranch or something?
I think
it's
that's
ridiculous.
The answer to the first part of that is no. He cannot directly leverage anything on Arsenal. I suspect that what may possibly have happened, I don't know, but it's possible that Arsenal are being used as collateral for him to finance some deal. But there's an element of LA local authority involved in the cost of that stadium as well. I don't know the full ins and outs, but no, he can't directly use Arsenal money, but I think he might be able to use them as collateral. I'm sure there's someone out there will know the true facts of that.
It's definitely a public relations own goal, though, isn't it? You know, they should have thought about it. It's thought it through. So why don't we do the right thing and slip the Barcelona in as one of the credits and don't charge them any extra, and then because all it does is just again it's more pressure on Arsenal, isn't it? And then they've called it on for themselves, which is just so,
And it's the whole package as well, isn't it? I mean, the tickets are one thing and a massive thing, but then when you also sling on the fact that if you've got kids and you've taken your kids for 10 years, and then suddenly that extra couple of quid takes you over the boundaries of what you can do. What do you say to the kids? You can't go, or do you say to the kids, "Well, look, I'm sorry, I'm led to believe, and this could be incorrect. I'm led to believe next season's home shirt is going to cost £55. 55 quid. That's before you get your kid's favourite name on the back.
And that's going to be 3 new shirts next season.
Three new kits, Danny, not just shirts. So you think about, I know we have the laugh full kit wankers. A lot of kids like to buy the full strip. They like to. You've got the merchandise. You've got the coats now. You've got the jumpers. You know when you add all of that on. If you are a family man or family woman or any group of family in the area, or you're like myself and you've got to travel from a different part of the country. I mean, yes, you can forego the buying the advertising and stuff, but you still got to feed yourself. You still got to travel, and you've still got to buy the tickets. And when you're adding it all together, that extra 10 quid, okay, that might not sound like much, but if that's your dinner, you can't afford to eat that day. Well, there's your extra 10 quid on top of it. So you're just paying. It just keeps going up, and I can understand why people are frustrated, and it will stop people going, and then people will moan that we're not getting the right quote-unquote quality of supporter in, because it's only the people that can afford to throw money who don't really care about the game that are able to go every week.
Thing is, it's a funny thing, and I talk from my point of view. If we were to go, we'd have to find somewhere to park, because we drive. Obviously, we're in Wales, and when we go, we use somewhere called parkatmyhouse.com, which basically you pay someone 15 quid and you can park on their driveway or in a designated car park. You got food for the day, you've got drinks before and after the game, you got the match ticket itself, plus the petrol to get from
and
Wales.
And the probable parking ticket.
Yeah, probably. When you have, when the parking, you've been screwed over by the parking. It's just an expensive day for, everyone knows that Kate is my other half. She's a massive Arsenal fan too. And for both of us to go for a match day, from here, you're probably talking 400 or 500 quid. Which, as you can imagine, that's a lot of money.
Amy Lawrence has just tweeted, Arsenal were once a classy club, but pulling a stunt on season ticket holders by charging them extra makes them look like cheapskates. So many people are just going mad saying how much money it's costing them. And there's one up here from Highbury Harold explaining. He says, my cheap, in quotes, seat of £36.50 for a Cat B reduces by £10.50 when moving from a Cat B to a Cat C. But AFC's pricing policy is skewed massively in their favour when moving from a B to an A. Does that mean that it's going up by £16, the £16.11? Or £17, whichever one it is? So if they move it down one, you get a little bit of money back. They move it up a category, then they make much more money.
I just think we live in a time when there are endorsements, sponsorship deals, the TV money's coming in. Why the fuck do you have to screw the fans over? Come on, show a little bit of class. You're making enough money, line your pockets by all means. You make enough out of all of us as it is. So, but why do you put the extra charge on? Surely that's just kicking the ordinary people that actually, they work hard to go and get money to watch the Arsenal at the weekend. Those are the people that you want in the ground, and you're just completely pricing them out of it. It's a completely classless and disgusting move that, to be quite honest, I think we probably all expected better from Arsenal, but when we actually think about it, we probably didn't.
Mark's done a funny tweet, Mark King. He's put, "Dear season ticket holder, please bite down on this. Now bend over. Regards, Stan." But I mean, if we were top of the league, 5 points clear at the top of the league, and we were sailing through everything, then maybe that would go. You release bad news when you're doing well, but you don't release bad news when you're having a terrible run of form. Haven't scored in 3 games. And look like we're going to get absolutely hammered by Barcelona. We've got a fantastic question from somebody about Barcelona game coming up in a bit.
We ain't getting hammered by Barcelona, Danny.
No, can I just say though, Gim, and I take your point entirely, but I think you're confusing 2 points. I don't think the working class supporters are going to Arsenal now, regardless of whether it's Sunderland in the 3rd round of the FA Cup or Barcelona in the last round of 16 in the Champions League, because they can't afford the match-by-match prices. What you'll notice, though, is that the season ticket holders who are complaining about paying an extra £16 against Barcelona, there'll be a damn sight more of them sat on their arse watching that game than there were against Southampton, for example, where there were loads of empty seats. And don't get me wrong, I understand the reasoning behind it, but people can't make a midweek game against Southampton, but they can make Barcelona. So
and they worry about the atmosphere.
Issues.
They moan about the atmosphere, which
we are excluding a lot of people that you and I used to go with, Geoff, by their match-by-match pricing, regardless of who the opposition are. Yeah. So I think to get up in arms about just the Barcelona add-on is muddying the waters a bit.
Talking about the atmosphere, Tim Stillman's just tweeted, the more money Arsenal take from fans, the more people will get up their arses about spending it, and ultimately the sour the atmosphere will be.
It's very true. It's like anything, isn't it? It's true. But I mean, like you said, Dave, the working class man has really been priced out of the game. The days of we all, my old man used to take me into the North Bank and stuff, and I'd meet me pals in there, my cousins and all that, because we didn't have to it wasn't seated. Right, we'd go down. We knew where we'd meet every single game. We'd be down the front, right behind the goal at the first barrier. And we'd all, stand there and amongst everyone else and have a laugh and a joke and all that. And you get covered with beer and everything else during the course of the game.
Talk about what Alan Davies was saying last night, Geoff. We were talking before the pod. Talk about the Tuesday Club and what they were saying and how right that Alan Davies was.
I mean, if everyone's got to listen to that. It's a fantastic podcast. It covers all that. It covers all that. What they was talking about, the atmosphere. And I remember my old man taking me to the stadium, and it was all part of the thing. He'd park miles away, and we'd walk. And as the closer you get to the game, you smell the hamburgers and the cigars of people smoking on the side of the street and all that. And it was a fantastic atmosphere at Highbury. And they would all queue up to get into the North Bank, and you'd take ages getting up the steps and then back down the steps again. And the old man would go for a pint or something like that, and and we'd all be down the front, and it was just a totally different atmosphere. But that was because there was. I know it's a global game now, but most of our fans, most of them now, I think, in the stadium, they come from 5 and 10 miles outside N5. It would be great. I mean, what Alan Davies was saying yesterday on their podcast is they should rip all that North Bank out, rip every seat out, most of it, and just have a great big bank of safe standing. And a lot of the tickets you've got to give to the local fans, the kids, and make them 15 or £20, and just pack them in there, right? And you'll get a better atmosphere. You won't have these corporates. I mean, I'm in corporate hospitality. It's a little bit difficult for me, right? That's how I get my living. But I understand the game now has totally moved on. It's gone too far that way. It's too corporate. We're taking all the local fans out. And it's not right. We need to. If we want a proper atmosphere, you've got to get them. You've got to find a way to get them local boys back in there. And the only way you can do it is if you knock the prices down. You build that all standing, right? And you look at Dortmund. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. You go there and the hair is standing on the back of your head because you're looking up and they're bouncing up and down. The stand is bouncing up and down. And any team that comes to our club, all right, and they see that wall and the noise, and they're going to think, "Whoa, hold on a minute, this is a proper atmosphere here," and it makes a difference. I stand by it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, no, here. We've still got one more game to talk about, fellas, and we've used a large amount of the podcast tonight talking about other things. So we will skip over this one.
We'll talk about the tickets again at a later date. Maybe get Raj and some other people on the come who know more about it than we do.
Yeah, I think Red Action. We're good friends with Red Action. I think that might be a great idea to get them on and see what they think of it, because they do a lot around that area.
Should maybe get all the fan groups on.
I agree.
Tim Payton from the AST and Raj or something from the Black.
Yeah, have a round table. That's a bloody great idea.
I've spoken to Tim only this week. He couldn't make this week's podcast, but he is going to be on in the next couple of weeks. So maybe we'll arrange something in the next couple of weeks where we get all the fan groups on, and we really chew the cud over this one and try and work out really what's going on. But yeah, we've got Southampton to talk about, and it was 0-0 on the night and a stalemate. But Kris, I apologise because this is a difficult one for you, I know. But
I'll do my best. Well, I mean, we had Danny will tell you, we had a very heated radio show afterwards. There was a lot of strong opinions from both ourselves and the listeners, and I understood some of it. It was a frustrating night. It was very frustrating. I don't subscribe to the idea that quote the title is gone and doom and gloom around it. We're still very much in this title race, and I still firmly believe that we'll end up winning the title. I have no reason to think otherwise. It's been a bit of a crazy season, and we came up against an inspired goalkeeper. That said, I will qualify by saying that our finishing has to be better on the night. We've touched on Theo, but Mesut, by his standards, will be disappointed that he put that shot straight at the keeper, however good a save it was. I thought Ollie Giroud looked a bit sort of, he was very well marshalled, credit where credit's due, and he looked a little bit leggy, which is a concern, and we lacked that mythical plan B. I do take a little bit of what's the word? I don't agree with a lot of the people that sort of get on players' backs, and we always seem to, our fan base seem to have their favourites, and there always seems to be a player they want to get on the back of, and it was a mixture of Ramsey and Flamini the other night. I saw from both sides, and I was disappointed, particularly in Ramsey in the final third. I worry about his distribution from that central area, and that sort of decision making is a concern. And and Flamini, I mean, he's all heart with limited ability, and I think that's the truth. He's a decent servant, and he's done a really good job. I don't understand these people that are saying, "Oh, why didn't Coquelin start?" It's like, well, the guy looked rusty as hell against Burnley, and it's great to have him back and fantastic, and hopefully he'll be fit for Sunday. But there was no way if he'd have started that game and got a hamstring in 10 minutes or something, everyone would have been up in arms. And it's the same with Alexis. You've got to be a bit careful. And I don't blame the manager for picking Flamini. And let's be completely honest here, nothing against Southampton, but we had enough on that pitch to win that game, and we should have won that game. And but for poor finishing and a very good goalkeeping display, we would have done. Some credit to Southampton. Not a lot of credit to Lee Mason, who I thought was poor. That's not an excuse. Again, you've got to be better than that. But he didn't give very good decisions. And Southampton played that perfect game that we hate. They milked every opportunity to stay down for long periods, every goal kick, every throw in. But we've seen this before, and we much like Theo Walcott's career saying he doesn't learn. We've got to learn how to beat sides that do this to us. And I really believe that we need to be sharper and quicker out the blocks, because particularly in that first half, we looked so lethargic at times. And we need to be getting out there and putting these teams to bed early. And essentially, you score an early goal, all their gameplay, all their game plan, of sitting back and being defensive has got to go out the window, because no team's going to come to us and go, oh, well, we're a goal down, we'll lose 1-0. They're going to try and get back in the game, and that's how we take our chances. So no panic bells. It was a poor night. It's dropped points, but we're 5 points off the top, boys and girls. It's not the end of the world, and two results the right way on Saturday and Sunday, and we're only 2 points behind again.
No, I do agree with you as well. Mesut Ozil had a very early chance, and he sticks that in the back of the net, and it's a completely different animal.
That touch, by the way, I have to say though, that when he pulled that ball out of the air,
yeah,
oh, Christ on a bike, that was a bit special. Shame, it's a shame he didn't finish it, because that would have been one to remember.
But Kris, exactly what you said. If that goes in, then Southampton have to adopt a completely different mentality to play, and it opens the game up, and it means we can play. And when teams do that against us, 9 times out of 10, we will run out 2 or 3-0 winners.
Yeah, and that's why Bournemouth, I believe, is the perfect game for us Sunday. And I know people might think that and go raise an eyebrow and think, well, why? They're playing quite well. The reason being is that Eddie Howe's teams ain't going to sit deep. They're not going to pack the midfield. Okay, they might be a bit cautious. They might, maybe put the extra midfielder in, but they're at home and they're going to come at us and they'll try and football us. And that's, to be fair, that's the sort of sides that we need to be playing against. But we can't go to Bournemouth and win, hopefully, and then next weekend, I think it's Leicester, isn't it, up next? We can't then go, right, let's go back to our old approach and let them come at us. This is the time now. We've had our bad run. We've had, 2 points in 7 or whatever it is. We've now got to turn this round. And these players have got the opportunity to secure this title. And one team goes on a run. You've seen what Spurs have done. I hate to admit it. I'm not going to give them any credit because that's against my religion. But
not on this podcast, you won't.
No, absolutely. But
burn the witch.
They put a run together, and we have it on good authority from Ross, who Danny knows as well. He's a Southampton fan, and he said that Pochettino's sides, Jack Cork, their midfielder last year, said that to play under Pochettino, you've got to have 2 hearts. And what he meant by that was around about this time of the season, players start to get a bit out of speed and out of breath. So let's hope that does happen, because we could do without this being a 4-horse race. I still firmly believe it's a 2-horse race. But fair play to Leicester. If they get a result at the Etihad, then it really is game on. But I still think we can do this. I really do.
Definitely. And one thing I should say, it's an exciting season. You can bitch and moan about, Arsenal not picking up points. The stat is that we've dropped 9 points in our last 4 matches. And we're not in title form, but it's exciting to see a Premier League title race so open. And isn't it? And I'm probably going to get crucified for this, but it's actually refreshing to see Leicester up there. It just shows you that the Premier League is the best in the world, and I do truly, firmly believe that. Geoff, I'll come to you next. There was plenty of opportunity in the game, but no real end product. Does that worry you about our season? We've had some stalemates. We failed to score for a while now in the Premier League. Are you starting to worry a little bit?
Not really, Gim, to be honest with you. Of course, it's a concern if you're not scoring enough goals. But on another night, we should have beat them 3 or 4. We had so many. We had a good half a dozen chances that we should have really stuck away. That's the only gripe. And the team was getting a lot of stick. I think everyone got jumped on the bandwagon of we had we obviously any kind of poor in inverted commas result at home brings out the Wenger hokey mob, don't they? In out. They don't know. They don't want to make their mind up. But I understand a little bit. But the thing is, you've got a Southampton team that was well organised. We knew exactly what they was going to do, and yet I think that Arsenal, for the first 20 minutes, half an hour, they was obviously mindful not to pour forward too much, because we kept on getting done on the break in the other game that we got done 4-0 by them. So they obviously had that in the back of their mind. But on a normal day, we should have tucked. The goalkeeper had a worldie. He had an absolute worldie, the lad.
Yeah, we should say that he was absolutely fantastic. But Geoff, it was the other game. he has made the record amount of stops in a Premier League game in pretty much the 2 games that he's played against Arsenal. So it's like he's gone, oh, the Arsenal are in town. I'll fucking step up my game for them.
Yeah.
And 18 clean sheets in 34 games for Southampton.
He's a good keeper.
Fantastic
keeper.
keeper.
And on Opta rating, I don't remember the last time I saw a goalkeeper get an Opta rating of 9.9. On the day, it was 9.8, and it was readjusted to a 9.9. That is absolutely outstanding. I mean, we had.
Sorry, Danny, but I was going to say the pundits are even pushing for Foster to maybe push out Joe Hart in the goal for England.
This is what I was saying
this summer.
On Chris's pod, the breakfast show. I was saying the English breakfast. I was saying that to Ross, the Southampton fan, that I reckon Foster's a better goalkeeper than Joe Hart. I said this Sunday just gone before we even played them. I said I think he's a fantastic guy. I liked him at Celtic. And I like him here. But you just look at the fact we had 65% possession, 22 shots on goal. I mean, I was saying that the telling stat is the number of tackles. 32 from them, 23 from us. I mean, we had 13 corners. We did every single thing we could in that game, apart from score. And there was a vine going round of all the shots we had. There was like about 8 or 9 that were on target that were brilliant. And it's just a miracle. No goalkeepers should be able to do that well against us at home. But how often does it happen? The curse of away goalkeepers at the Emirates. They come here and they play their arse off.
Ozil, his second first half chance.
Yeah.
I was sat on the halfway line and we thought it was a goal kick because I haven't got a clue how he reacted that quickly and got
Reminded
to
me
it.
of Seaman when he did that one
Exactly.
where he couldn't even see it.
Gordon
Sheffield
Banks in
United.
1970.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
You
I?
know-
Sorry, Jeff. Go on.
Sorry, Chris. The most disappointing thing was everybody else around us won. That's what upset everybody, which I can understand that. If someone would have dropped a couple of points here and there, but everybody won around us, and it was like, the doom and gloom and the people, the outrage again on Twitter. That's it. We're not going to win the league. I mean, mate, come on, please. There's still plenty of games to play. I promise you, all the top teams are definitely going to drop points all over the place, and as long as we're in the running.
It's as well, Geoff, as well. I think there was a lot of Arsenal fans that expected Leicester to go to Anfield and drop points, except, Vardy pulled out a worldy performance and a worldy goal. I mean, what an incredible goal that was. And they're still picking up points. I mean, there's a lot of Arsenal fans, and I'm included in this bracket, that thought 2 or 3, 4 weeks ago that they would start to lose points. They got a difficult couple of games coming up. And they seem to just be scraping out results. And it's like I said, it's refreshing to see them up there, but it's frustrating as fuck to keep watching them winning.
That's a really good point, actually, Kim. Like, people expect, that they were actually at home, Leicester, but if you look at the sides around us, I think we had even though we were at home, we had the toughest task. City went away to Sunderland, not a massive challenge.
They only scraped it. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Spurs went to Norwich, who couldn't keep a clean sheet even if it was on their bed, and Leicester beat a side in Liverpool who they're so Jekyll and Hyde. But I wanted just to ask, if I may, Kim, just wanted to ask Geoff and Dave about the atmosphere, because
You go for it, Chris.
They were there. I had a couple of tweets from a guy who I said I'd give a mention to, so I will. He's at Nigel Rampant. Interesting name, I love it. Ramps, and he sent me a couple of tweets, and he said that he was at the game, and he said, I'm wondering why we don't make things more uncomfortable in the Emirates for away fans, like bunging them upstairs, as Alan Davis said. He said, I've been at games at the Emirates when we've won and people do nothing but moan. He said, it's not just the silence that pisses me off, it's the negativity. I was at the Bournemouth win and I had to endure moaning the whole game when we were great. And it's not just club level that's quiet. I'm surrounded by season ticket holders and it's so quiet, it's like watching cricket. Raj will like that. And he said, anyway, glad to stay positive. I completely agree with you about the negativity of the stadium. So I just wondered, like, from Geoff and Dave's point of view, what the atmosphere's like. Dave, I'll kick off with you. What's it like where you are, and why do you think it's so toxic at the moment?
Well, for exactly the same reason as you get the disagreements on social media, there is a mix in the ground of people of opposing opinions. That obviously when something is going wrong, you could hear. What surprised me against Southampton was that although we had only really played for 20 minutes of the first half and it was 0-0, We weren't losing, and when the half-time whistle blew, I was fully expecting Lee Mason to get it in the ear when he walked off. But the moment that half-time whistle blew, there was probably about 20% of the ground started booing. And when they do it straight away, that's at the team, that's at the performance, isn't it? Because you could tell the difference about 40 seconds later when Mason came in, then all of a sudden it kind of reached a bit of a crescendo, and quite right that it should do. But there's no doubt there is an atmosphere there. I wouldn't call it poisonous, but when we're not doing well and when we're behind, there's a lot of really bad negativity. Let's put it that way.
Geoff, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I share that. I share that sentiment. But Dave said something before pre-pod. I think it was that in the old days you'd go to the game and you'd only have your 90 minutes with your pals and all that, and you want to enjoy the game, so you wouldn't have that negativity. It was a different kind of thing. And back in the old days, we didn't. I didn't anyway. I don't know. I can only speak for myself. I didn't expect too much because we wasn't. A lot of the time, we wasn't. One of the top teams, so to speak. We wasn't in the top four and stuff like that. A lot of it, we was down in 7th, 8th, 14th, and 15th, and worse sometimes. But there is. But it's that the clientele is totally different now, and again, it goes back to what we was talking about earlier on, the corporates, and they just want to be entertained all the time, which is fair enough. But sometimes it is. But I must say, it was an extremely frustrating first half.
And how many of those season tickets are never used or used for 1 or 2 games a season? Should have them taken off them.
There was a lot of empty seats there, I must admit. It was
ridiculous.
It was.
When you sat there in the 90s watching Wimbledon, a 0-0 in Highbury and Wimbledon, that should give you a pass for life. Sat there, I almost fell asleep. That's how bad football was back then.
We should say as well, Danny, of course, like on the radio show, we're not, we said this at the time and I'll repeat it now, we're not using it as an excuse. And I'm not saying that if you pay your money, you have every right to an opinion as we have ours on here now. But I just feel that as a generally positive supporter and as somebody that has been spoiled in my lifetime with the Invincibles team, with the teams that have won the doubles, with some of the football we've played, I just think that sometimes some of these players are, just need that extra 12th man motivation. And I'm not for a minute suggesting the players take their eye off the game or lose focus when there's the booze and the negativity, but surely it can't help. And I think that we could, as a support base, maybe just sort of give it that little bit extra. And those games that we really are struggling, I remember it very vividly. We beat, I think it was Wolves, and ironically it was the Lord that popped up, bent the winner, and it was a good couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And the atmosphere was, I wasn't at the game, I was listening to it from home, and the atmosphere was so good. And it was almost like that goal was sucked in. I think it was a very late winner. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the sort of atmosphere in that game that maybe for that last 10 minutes in particular, if we'd have really got behind them as a unit, as a collective, that we could have just willed that extra chance and that extra goal. But it's tough. It's not an excuse. The players have obviously got to turn it on. But it is tough. And those people that were having a go at there was I don't know if you saw this, there was a Snapchat that Arsenal do pre-game, and there was some footage of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain sort of mucking about a bit in the tunnel before the game. This is not immediately before the game. This is before the warm-up, and I know a lot of people are completely lost their shit over the fact that how dare these overpaid professionals enjoy what they do for a job. I'm not on board with that at all. I think when we start, it goes back to that old, if you lose a game where you can't go out for dinner. These guys are professionals. I'm sure they're as disappointed as we were. And it's down to us as a support base and down to the players and the manager to get it right. And as I said, one win, it all changes.
I must say though, it's not just an Arsenal problem. I think it's up and down the grounds. You get it at Manchester United, Liverpool, Man City. I mean, a lot of them are mainly all corporate at Man City mob now. I'm telling you, and it's everywhere. You go to most of the grounds, especially the ones that are at the top, and they've got they're attracting these corporates. Remember, you go to Palace. Palace, they've got their crowd are always very, very noisy, and that's because it's the local crowd. They've all been together for all all them years. They haven't got that many corporates there, and the same people go together. They can all buy their tickets together because it's not sold out every single week. So you're all your same group. You know what tickets you've got to buy and everything else. You don't get that anymore. When we moved from hybrid to the Emirates, all right, we went up and we had to pick. We could pick what seats we had, all the season ticket holders. But you know what? Half the time you thought, oh yeah, go on, I'll sit in that block, but you wasn't standing next to the same people you used to stand next or sit next to for all those 15 or 20 years before, and it made a difference straight away.
I made sure I did. Me and the Mark and that lot and his family, we all went. We met down there. It was a nasty little alleyway in the middle of London, wasn't it? And then we went down there. It was in a little courtyard. It looked like an office building. He went in there and a big plan on the wall, and there were about 3 people in the office. We all went in there together and made sure we got our seats next to each other, like we'd had at Highbury for 18 years.
Everything you're saying is absolutely right, but I'll tell you what, when you go, well, sorry, not when you go, whoever's in there for the Barcelona game, it's going to be those season ticket holders, and you notice the atmosphere. Certainly, as long as we're in the contest, the same people will make one hell of a row.
Yeah.
They'll do it for Barcelona, they'll do it for Tottenham, they'll do it for Manchester United. But
we have got to take responsibility as well. You made a good point there, David. We have definitely got to take a little bit of responsibility. I know we want to get entertained and we want to get G'd up and everything else, but you know what? After people that go there, they just want to go and sit and watch the game. It's different.
Southampton, the only time I got out of my seat, to be fair, was to offer me glasses to Mason at half time. It's true.
It's a great point as well you make, Dave. I 100% agree. And again, myself and Danny said this on the radio show. Leicester had, I know it's different because, they're having an absolute time of their lives. Don't get me wrong, it's unexpected. But they had a spell over Christmas where they weren't getting results, where the team was struggling. Vardy's goals dried up and they looked like, this is the time. And their fans just went again and they just kept supporting the side. They kept getting behind them. I mean, that place now is a fortress. And the fact that we are the only team that has gone there and beat them says a lot for us. And their fans are getting them that extra 5-10% every game. And, they were 0-0 against Liverpool for a long period the other night and then a bit of magic and they, comfortably get over the line. So that little extra push, as you say, for every game from here on into the end of the season just might be really vital for us.
But then their manager wouldn't be drawing 0-0 at home to Southampton and then bring on Coquelin, would he?
Well, probably.
He'd have put on a striker to try and win it.
I don't think we had one, did we, on the bench?
Oh, Wobie.
Well, maybe.
Well,
but
he's not necessarily a striker, though, is he, Danny?
No.
Oh, he's a forward.
I think the reason...
On the bench, was he?
Wasn't he?
No, I don't think he
I don't think he was on the bench.
Oh, it's made me look like
the main thing is though, it was very important that we didn't get beat in that game, and you still had to be mindful of they did break away. They had a chance late, didn't they? I remember the Brazilian boy cleared one out. He cleared a lad out, didn't he? Right on the corner of the box there. But the only way we're going to get this atmosphere better is to do what David said. You rip that North Bank out, and when you rip the North Bank out, I would put the away fans right next door to them. Have a little block where they're separated, and right next
like
door,
at the clock end.
Like the old days when they was giving verbals to each other and banter, and the whole crowd would then get involved rather than putting the away fans right. I know you gain an advantage, of course you do when they're not heard and everything else, but you want atmosphere. If you really do want atmosphere in the stadium, build that great big block at the North Bank and put the away fans right next door. You'll see some noise. You'll hear some noise then, I promise you.
When you can, we've all been to the games like when I used to go and watch Plymouth and like championship games, and they did put the away fans right next to the home fans, and you'd send chants back and forth, and the atmosphere would be absolutely electric for the whole 90 minutes.
Yeah, and we should say as well that to counteract this argument, our away fans are fantastic. Like there is no better away fans. I don't care what anyone says. You can have your Palace, you can have your Liverpool, all that. Like our away fans are magnificent.
It's a totally different experience.
If you could bottle that and put it at home times 2.
Yeah.
Well, you know why though? It's the same block of people that go to same games, and
ones who feel disaffected by being at the home games.
The majority, anyway.
And they go the same, do the same stuff. They meet in the same pubs, and they all have a laugh and a joke, and you go there in a good mood, and you've got to sing the heart out for the lads, and they do it, and they're fantastic. We don't get that in the Emirates.
Absolutely. And even if you aren't a regular, I can speak from experience. And I went away to West Brom last year. And somebody, if you are not a familiar face, not everyone will naturally do this, but you'll get large groups, and somebody will sort of stop you. Go, all right, lads, and you have a chat. Oh, what games have you been to? Oh, it's my first one. Oh, right, coming in, lads, get involved, and they will make you feel welcome. And anyone that makes a pirate feel welcome, God bless them. But they do. Our away fans look after one another, and we band together as a group. And like Geoff says, you do get your regular people who go home and away every single week, but they also are very, very quick to make sure we look after our own. And it's a real family kind of orientated atmosphere away from home, and we out-sing home fans time after time. If it's even coming through on a TV, then it's amazing in the ground to be part of.
Definitely so.
I just need to say Oxlade Chamberlain, because then I go and cut that out later and paste it over the bit where I said "whoa" because of he wasn't even on the bench.
that was a fair argument.
No, that's unfair. You've got to leave it in.
No problem.
that was the only one.
Fucked up tonight saying Leicester played at Anfield. You've got to leave yours in.
Have you been smoking, Danny?
Yeah.
I'm absolutely baked, boys. I'm not going to lie.
No, the only thing I've got is this green power drink.
My throat's been slit.
Okay.
We need to do Twitter questions and kick on Danny like 2 or 3 of the best ones.
All right, I'll do 3. Bellerin's right peg. Have recent results shown that we have 5 very good players carrying a pretty average squad? David?
No, I don't agree with that at all. But it's again, we were talking about individual players having runs of form, be it good or bad, and here we are again. The last 4 games we've picked up 3 points. If you care to take the last 14 games, we've only lost 2 of them. So I do understand, though, current form is very, very frustrating, and we need to do something about it, and quick.
I can take that one as well, Danny.
Yeah.
If you would consider Alexis Sanchez as one of our best players, then, he's been out for the last 2 months and we've still managed to get results.
That's the cock.
So, yeah, exactly. These are our best players being out and we've still managed to pick up points and stay in contention. So, in the nicest possible way, no.
Kris, what question you got?
I've got a couple, but I'll pick out the really good one here from Jordan Chappell 4, whichever you prefer. He says Arsenal have missed the most clear-cut chances in brackets 52 in the Premier League this season. Man City are a distant second on 31.
Wow, says it all, doesn't it?
Discuss, Geoff. What do you make of that?
Does it say who missed them though? Giroud.
No.
To be honest with you, I'd be more concerned if we wasn't creating the chances, mate. But, as long as we keep on creating the chances, we will stick them away eventually.
We're halfway there.
All I can say is the age-old question to this podcast, which we've dined out on for absolutely years, is should we shoot more? But we've changed it. What we should change it to is should we miss less?
Love it. I've got a quick follow-up to that, just to squeeze this one in. Jax Joseph at Tija Aqua. What? Anyway, yeah. Hi, Jax. What would be the best catalyst to kickstart a run? A centre-forward change, a change in the midfield pairing, or simply refocus on their goal? Danny, you can have that one.
Just keep on going. There's nothing we can do. Maybe drop Giroud, because an angry Giroud plays best of all. So let Theo play a start, and then Theo isn't really going to do much. You never know, he might do. But then you watch Giroud on the bench slowly going redder and redder and getting more and more angry. Then we release him like an angry lion.
Would any of the panel make changes for Sunday?
Yeah, I wouldn't sell a Phoebe.
So what I will say is we keep on creating them chances. Someone is going to get a spanking one day, sooner or later, aren't they?
I would certainly start on Sunday with Coquelin, and I think I'd probably go with Theo on the basis that Joel's had a good little run, deserved to be picked the other night, but he didn't look at the races the other night either, so let's try and get Theo a bit of confidence.
I'd bring Mertesacker back as well. I thought Gabriel looked really shaky the other day. And that's not a knock on the guy, but him and Koscielny as a partnership for me is not one I think is working at the moment. So, yeah, I agree with that.
I've got one more question. We had loads of really decent questions. Because of the ticket stuff, we're running out of time. This is just a fun. I just love the way he's put this together. The notorious JED, that's the real Josh Dorr. On a scale of 0 to 7, how fucked are we against Barcelona? Because they scored 7 against Valencia. I'd say 7. Any lower offers than 7?
No.
Yeah,
No.
we're not
6.
fucked at all, mate.
We'll give them a game. Don't you worry.
We'll raise our game.
We won't win either game.
Oh, that's
No,
what you
we're
said.
going to draw 0-0 at home and 1-1 away and go
There
through on
you
away
go.
goals.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
It's
Not going to happen, though.
so easy to say, well, because this team lost to that team, where I'm going to upset Mr. Canton here, but La Liga is, in my opinion, not a
And
particularly
mine.
strong league. So,
2.5 teams.
The Premier League is under lights. You got the anthem, you got the atmosphere we've touched on. The bounce of a ball, the break of a ball. Yes, of course, we're going to have to keep probably the 3 best strikers in the world quiet, and of course that will be tough. But
still, look on the bright side. At least we won't have to watch Barcelona beat us with ITV commentary.
that is but BT's
BT's
not much better, Gim, is it?
No, exactly. But of recent seasons, it's always been, oh, Messi, that's absolutely brilliant.
No, instead this year we'll get Michael Owen going, oh, I firmly believe if they score more goals than the opposition, they will win the game.
Well, the reason they didn't win is because they haven't scored as many goals as the other team. Brilliant analysis, Michael.
Thanks,
We
Mike.
did have a good question from Pete about the British core, and we had a few questions about bottling it. There was one from Andre and Mark Fine, and we had a few questions about Ramsey as well, not playing, but we've run out of time.
We have run out of time. So with that, we will do some predictions for Bournemouth at home on Sunday.
Oh, I've already written these down.
Away.
Okay,
Bournemouth
Danny,
away.
Yeah.
Bournemouth
I'm
away,
going to
Johnny.
say 2-2 and a Phobe to get both.
Hold on. Whoa, hold on.
What?
Home. No, away.
Yes.
Yes, if we can.
2-2.
Spark up.
Right, 2. I will be in about 5 minutes, David. Don't you worry. I'm going 2-1 to the Arsenal. A Phobe. To be controversial, Danny.
I just said 2-2 a Phobe.
Dickhead. Geoff.
I'm going to go 2-1 Alexis Sanchez.
Okay, David.
Readers one for me, is it? I'll go 4-2 Giroud.
And
Yeah,
finally,
you'll do the listeners one this week, yeah.
and finally, Kris.
3-1. 3-1 Koscielny. Well, let's go different.
Wonderful. And as for shout-outs, again, I'm going to go first because I can. My shout-out goes to Alfie Scully, who is at Alfie, ALFIEWSCULLY, and shoot music for the interview that you're going to hear at the end of the podcast. If you are a fan of the band We Are the Ocean, I interviewed him earlier.
So there'll be no extras, as that will be. It's 20 minutes long, and that will be the extras.
Yes.
A lovely interview of a really nice bloke.
And Alfie is a massive, massive gooner, and their band are really on the up. So a big...
Even I liked it.
Exactly.
I couldn't believe it.
Even Danny liked it.
Yeah,
so
I
a
thought it
big
was very
shout
nice.
out to them, and also I should say at Shoot Music, who sorted out that interview for us. If you want any details about the song or the music or the band itself, contact us on our Twitter page, and we will give you the necessary information. Danny.
My shout out, my gentleman's nod goes to Julian Assange. Trumped up charges. They're all after him. It's a conspiracy. There you go.
Wonderful. That was a bit abrupt. You were like premature ejaculation. Well,
Hey.
that's your shout out for next week.
I thought you were taking a piss out of what he's trumped up charges for.
I don't know. I'm just confused.
They made it up.
Yes, Kris.
3 continents, 3 people, very quickly. At Kelly_Mayor for all the work she does. She knows why. At Kennelly Peter, Pete Kennelly in Australia, and at Accidental Gooner, at Accidental. They're both top follows as well.
3. You piss taker.
Sorry, at least I was quick for once.
He was brought in as a late substitute, and he comes in at the end.
Thanks to
with-
everybody he knows.
Yeah.
Windmilling away.
Do you want to add fucking Emma at Sainsbury's that served you your turnips earlier?
Also at Gooner Gimli for being an arse.
Tit.
You fame-hungry prick. Right.
How about Geoff?
I love you, Kris. Geoff?
Yeah, well, yeah, as usual, I've come very, very unprepared for a podcast, so I didn't have one lined up. So I've just gone to my timeline, and I will pick one out as it happens. It's Arsenal Cyprus 0-2. Now that is a guy called Bams. It's a funny account. It's a bit harsh, and it's very, very X-rated, and you'll most probably get whatever. But
Nudie pictures?
it's entertaining. It's entertaining.
I'm following now.
And he loves Arsene Wenger. So if you don't like Arsene Wenger and you want a bit of abuse, I suggest you log on.
He's had about 4 or 5 different accounts, hasn't he?
Yeah, he keeps on getting suspended, mate.
Say, like
hardcore.
Arsene Wenger, I can tell where you're friends with him, Geoff. Dave.
Not anybody specific, but it's been an absolutely arsehole of a start to the year. So to anybody who's lost anybody, hope things pick up for you soon.
Yeah, well said, David.
Touch of class.
So all that's left is to thank my wonderful panellists tonight. David,
I have to be here.
Geoff, Kris. Don't fucking
Beat you to it.
That's
Fucking beat
my
you to
line,
it.
dickhead. Danny, you have to be here.
Oh, dude.
So,
Chris used that on the radio show the other day.
Did he really?
He fucking did. Not that you listened, but he fucking used your material.
Did you, Chris? Did you use my material?
Hang on, what did I say?
Oh,
That I have to be here.
not having that. There's
Oh, I did. Yeah, no, I did. I said Danny has to be here. Yeah, sorry.
for the second time tonight, you absolute prick.
Soz. Love
So
you.
that was a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast.
Hello.
Jace, we missed you.
I don't even know why I do this. I rock up stoned, expecting you guys to be, the sympathetic shoulder, little arm around my neck.
Someone
just
tell him to get on with it.
carry me, you absolute bunch of bastards. So that was a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and keep it Arsenal. Good night.
Hello!
Oh, you cunt!
There's lovely.
I'm Gunnar Gimli, and today I'm lucky enough to be joined by Alfie Scully from We Are the Ocean. Hello, Alfie.
Hello there, Matt. Pleasure.
Yes, and how are you on this fine Thursday afternoon?
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? Like the weather's changed a little bit. It's a bit sunny outside. Like still a bit cold, mind you, but it's great. Just got back from a driving lesson. Looking forward to chatting to you. Can't complain. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I wish I could say the same. The weather outside, it just looks miserable and grey. But this is Wales, so you can't really expect anything different.
That's all right. You win some, you lose some. Like you got to take it. I'm sure it will change. The clouds will open up and the sun will start shining in a couple of days. No doubt.
Yeah, exactly. I looked at the weather forecast. It said snow, so we'll take that with a pinch of salt. Anyway, we shall endear to carry on. Right then. You are from We Are the Ocean, so we'll kick off by asking you a bit about yourself and the band. So for those of you not familiar with We Are the Ocean, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Okay, yes, I can. We are a 4-piece rock band from Essex, just outside of London. Started in Loughton, where we all got together. We wanted to play original music and write our own songs. We've never done covers or anything, and thought the best way to do that would be we all met each other, like-minded people with that goal in mind. We got into the garage of our drummer Tom's. He's got a garage at his house. Started working on our own tunes, and then since then, it's been about 9 years now, and we've got 4 albums out. And, we just got ourselves on the road and really put ourselves out there, and just crafted ourselves as a touring band more than anything. Like the first thing we wanted to do was get the songs together, get out on the road, play to as many people as possible. Play to nobody at first, do the toilet circuit, and then meet people. And it's been a ride. It's been an absolute ride. We've loved recording our own music and putting together songs and getting in the studio and going on tour. We've been all over the place. We've done European tours. We've been to America and signed a record. We just signed a record deal with Infectious BMG. Things are going really great. Yeah, and it's been a really great experience. And we're all old friends. We love making music, and we've got loads of different inspirations. And it's really that's what we want to encapsulate, like the enjoyment and the passion for music, and writing our own songs and putting it out there for people to listen to.
And it sounds amazing. I can't even imagine the hard work that goes into 9 years of just constantly gigging, and music is an industry where you're forever searching for a break, or just to have someone there to hear your stuff, to take you to the next level. And
absolutely, it's a lot of you have to put yourself out there, really kind of put yourself on the line, and really kind of be prepared to take constructive criticism, and be prepared to kind of think that, like you've got a long way to go still, and, like always kind of self-improve, and always, try to write a better song, and always try to put on a better performance, and always, keep going at it, basically, until you get your break, until that break shows up. And,
And it's also as well a struggle to keep with the sign of the times. I mean, you said there yourself you've been going for 9 years, and music in that time, as you know yourself, it's constantly changing,
Absolutely, yeah. But that's
and
the beauty of it.
and to be around all that time while still trying to stay fresh is, it's a difficult job. And I can see you've been doing television interviews lately as well, and it's really working out for you.
Absolutely, yeah. Could ask for what we started when we were literally like I was 14, I think, when we first started the band.
Mm,
So it's been a lot of like growing as a band, growing as a person, and like you said, yeah, like music changes all the time. But that's the cool thing, is that like every year you feel like you can take a different like take a different approach, or like things are changing and you evolve with it in a way, which is
yeah.
which is cool.
And you said yourself that you've just come off the back of a big European tour. How did that go?
That was amazing. Yeah, we love going and playing in Germany and all places in Europe. We went to Germany and Switzerland, and we've had some of the best gigs of our lives in Poland. The fans over in Europe are just like, you get such a great atmosphere on the night, and you get such a appreciation for music. Like like most places you go to, but there's something about playing away from home, going away and having that, like it almost feels like there's a piece of home kind of with you. Do you know what I mean? Like, people are there, like, supporting you, and it's really nice,
Of course, I can imagine it's a nice chance to take your music on the road and to see the people that have supported you. Maybe interact with the people that you've maybe spoken to on Twitter, and it's a nice way to keep it really intimate with your fans.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's the drives are long, but then when you get there, like 16 hours through the snow, and then you get there and it's all worthwhile. Do you know what I mean? They make it all worthwhile.
Yeah, definitely. My next question is, where was the most favourite place that you've visited on the tour?
Oh, it's hard. I've had some really great times out in Berlin, like Germany. Really, really great times out in Berlin, just purely because of the music that's there. Like the one time we went out in Berlin, and they've got a great kind of like nightlife. If you just want to go to like a nice bar, or like go out for a bit and meet people. But on the way back from one of these nights, there was a lot of people, like musicians, congregating underneath this bridge in like next to a train station, and it was kind of just like a big jam. Like, there was two people on guitar, a couple of drummers, a singer, and it was just like happening just at like like midnight or something, and it was just so just pure, and so just kind of just like we were standing there just kind of like watching, just like, what are we watching? This is so great, like, this is awesome. And our singer Liam jumped up and like did like sang a song with them, and it was awesome. Yeah, so but I had some great times in Berlin, but it's hard to say. So many places. So many places are good for different reasons.
That sounds absolutely wicked. But I mean, we understand that you're going to be doing something called the 2Q Festival, which is a unique type of festival. Can you tell us why?
Yeah, it's unique because of, I think, the diversity of the lineup is one thing, and it's a multi-venue festival. So if you go into the town centre, or if you go into the city centre of Derby, there'll be like multiple different venues with different bands playing at different times. So you can go off and see someone earlier on in the day, and then later on you could go and see another band. So it's constantly different, which is cool, which is great. It's live music all day.
Again, it goes back to the keeping it intimate with the fans, and getting about and knowing your fan base and who listens to your music, and finding out what they like.
Definitely, yeah, because it's all full circle, really. It's just like, you meet people and they inspire you, and then that inspires the music. And I feel like, the people that come and support and show support to people playing music, or like people doing that kind of thing, like, they're the ones that, like, they're like the unsung heroes almost, like, but they are recognized. And I think it's great to like get, meet people in that sense. And, everybody's got a story to tell, and everybody's got like a reason why they got into your music, or like what, like how their music makes you feel, like across the board. Like, I'm sure with like lots of different artists and different music, and it's great to get to know people in that sense, and play in those different environments. It's always different.
Yeah, definitely so. And with the 2Q Festival out the way, Do you have any plans for another tour, or are you going to take a little bit of time out to relax, maybe record some new material?
We're definitely putting plans together to go back on tour and do like a UK tour and get out to the fans like in Europe as well. It's been a while since the album came out, and like we've just released Hey Now, but yeah, already we're kind of like we've got ideas for like other songs, and we really want to get, like you said, like get back into the studio and put some of these songs down and like record them and listen to them.
And I know you have a single out at the moment called Hey Now. It's a cover of the London Grammar hit. Could you tell us how that came about?
We had an offer come in to do like a BBC Live Lounge, which for a long time, my family and my brothers have been into like Live Lounge. They've had a couple of the CDs before, and it's a really interesting take. Like for anybody that doesn't know, is that they get current artists to cover other current artists' songs. So like you get to choose between a list of songs that they have on their playlist, and you choose the one that you think that you want to do the most. And luckily for us, London Grammar's tune "Hey Now" was on there, and with all of us in the band really love that band and like that song in particular. So it's kind of like a no-brainer really, and we really love doing that kind of thing where we've never done covers before, but like we really like the idea of doing something that's a bit different to what we'd normally do as a band. And London Grammar definitely have like that thing that we really love to explore in our music, which is kind of, it's a bit dark and it's kind of but really melodic, and it's a bit kind of bluesy and a bit kind of like electronic and lo-fi, and the vocals are just really like really sweet and really like haunting, like you said.
I was going to say, so I was absolutely cracking track. Have you heard anything back from London Grammar?
I know that when we did the live line, the show aired, she got I can't remember what the singer's name is, but the singer tweeted us just saying that it was a great cover, guys, like great job. But we haven't heard anything from them since then. Maybe we need to like send them a message or something and get a writing session going.
Yeah, are they on Twitter? We should hook you up on Twitter.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
they've got to be.
Yeah, definitely do it.
Let's do it.
And where can people go out and buy the track?
It's available online on iTunes. There's not a physical of the single, but you can go on iTunes, Amazon, anywhere online and pick it up online for something like 89p or something, less than a price of coffee, basically.
Exactly, and it's a bargain. So anyone listening to this, go onto iTunes, search for it now, We Are the Ocean, Hey Now, and buy it. That's it. So we've spoken to Alfie Scully, the musician. We've got you here. Obviously, this is an Arsenal podcast, so let's talk to Alfie Scully, the Gooner. So first of all, Alfie, the big question is, Wenger in or Wenger out?
I'm definitely saying that Wenger in, because look at the results that has happened since he's been there, and also who else could you get in?
No, it's a very good point. It's something that we debate on our podcast. We've got Geoff, who is staunch Wenger in, and we've got other members of the podcast that they think enough is enough, and it's time for him to walk away from a job.
Don't get me wrong, like he has been there for like a number of years, but at the same time, is that there's definitely this thing with Arsenal where like there's the chemistry. It's all about the chemistry with the manager and the players. Like every time you hear a player, like whether they're like a new player or like a legend, they'll always say about how great he is. Do you know what I mean? And that chemistry between manager and player is something that's like it's got to come out on the pitch. They love playing for the team because of how well Wenger's running the show.
Exactly. We'll go back to basics, and after Wenger in, Wenger out, the next question would be, how did you become an Arsenal fan?
It was kind of thrust upon me, to be honest, from a young age. It was like everybody, my dad watches football. My brothers were really into football. I've got an older brother who used to go down to games all the time. And it was just one of those things where it's like, this is our team. And then, you start watching the games, then you kind of think, oh, actually, yeah, like this is great. My parents grew up not far from Islington, and it makes sense, really. And I, watched the games when I was a lot younger, and it was just like, do you know what I mean? It was just like, well, there's no other team, really.
And I understand that you're not a season ticket holder, but you try and get down there as much as possible, don't you?
No, yeah, unfortunately not. Like I've heard like the waiting list is like something like 7 years, but a good friend of mine actually works down there, so we sometimes go down there and watch games together, and like we go down and watch.
And the next question, your favourite player of the past?
Thierry Henry is like a given because like he's an absolute legend, like absolute legend. I don't know, maybe like Ian Wright or Pires. It's hard to say like a favourite player. Like they've all had like their different moment. We'll go with Bergkamp.
Yeah, I think that's probably wise. A Bergkamp Wonderland podcast.
Exactly, a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast. The technique, the delivery, it's got to be, mate.
Yeah, the man's got a statue. You can't argue with that.
Exactly.
My next question, your favourite player present?
Favourite player present is probably Mesut Ozil. Went down to the game the other day and just like the form on the pitch, like how he moves on the pitch, like the vision of like how the game's being played out. Just really love like watching him play.
The man is an absolute magician. Were you ever in the camp where you doubted him in the first couple of years? Because he got quite a lot of stick, didn't he?
He did, yeah. But then I think like that's got to come with like people's high expectations. But he's definitely delivered. Like there's a lot of weight on the shoulders to him to deliver. Coming from Spanish football, but like he definitely like stepped up to the plate. And since then, he's got something like 40 assists. He's going to go for like the record, and he's got like something like 40 assists in a season. Like
it's Thierry Henry's record. I think it's 20, and I think he's already 14 or 15. So there's absolutely no reason why he shouldn't smash it.
Exactly. That's Arsenal though for you.
Yeah, always. It's like you and the band, isn't it? You always strive to go out and the next year be a little bit better than you were the year before.
Exactly, you got to do it. There's always room for like self-improvement, and there's always room to like beat your personal best. I think that's what keeps it fun.
And the next question, do you think we will win the league this year?
It's definitely a great chance. I'm holding hope. Definitely, like it's been an interesting one because like lots of like Leicester and like lots of different teams like coming up. It's been a lot different from like the past years. And Arsenal is still like solidifying their place up there in like the top four. I think it definitely could, and with like with people like Alexi and Özil and Ramsey and Walcott and everyone, like and Giroud, like all scoring goals and like doing their bit. I think there's no reason why we couldn't. I'm going to say yes.
Yes, we liked that positivity. I mean, if you go on Twitter after, and you were there at the game the other night against Southampton, there were a lot of people saying that 0-0 draw has probably been the nail in the coffin of what would be our Premier League season.
No way.
Does it worry you watching that game? Did it worry you that we couldn't score goals?
It was definitely frustrating, but like because it was at home and there was a lot of chances that could have been it could have been something like 3-0. And it is frustrating because it's at home, but like it's something like that where we were talking about the refereeing of the game or like just little things. There was some there was like definitely like an absence of like some people. There was an absence of Walcott in the first half, and he came on and had a really great chance and it just didn't go in. It's just unlucky. Do you know what I mean? Like a bit of bad luck, and like no goals. But like saying that, it's just you could definitely feel that there's a bit of tension because of it. But there's still a whole season to go. Like it's still early days.
Yeah, of course, and we are just out of a transfer window. My question is, would you have liked to have seen us buy, and how influential do you think the decision not to buy will be on Arsenal's chances in the title race?
There's always room to bring a couple of people in, but like against that is saying that the squad is absolutely fantastic. Obviously, there's a couple of people that are still out on injury that are going to come back, and I think the squad is absolutely fantastic. Like I don't think you need to bring anybody in particular that's going to come in and like shake things up and change things. Although that's welcome. I'm not saying that. There's always a rumour that someone might come in, but I don't think that particularly it's going to be like majorly influential. I think the squad right now, like the major signings of last year are still holding up and they're still like delivering and scoring loads of goals. And as well, like the choice not to transfer this time just means that like that we'll be in a better position to look at it later in the line.
And do you think in the summer there needs to be big changes made?
There needs to be just a bit more confidence on the pitch, like just a bit more confidence, so that like these chances aren't being slipped away, and there's not being, like when it's put there on a plate that it's definitely being, goals are being scored and it's definitely being put away. All that needs is like there's been a couple of stale games, but other than that, yeah, solid. Like it'll go to plan. I think maybe just a couple of wins, and then like the gears will be going again.
I mean, a lot of people have said that our form on the field has suffered because the current Arsenal team lacks leaders. I mean, if you can remember teams of the past, we've had, Tony Adams, Patrick Vieira, and there doesn't seem to be that kind of someone
that's going to take the helm.
Yeah, exactly. Or almost, it's a 0-0 against Southampton. They're going to take the game by the scruff of the neck and be the real standout. Do you think we do lack that leadership in the team?
It's definitely. I mean, you could look at it as that they're playing as more of a team. Do you know what I mean? There's like a definite like level of equality kind of like throughout the team, where like everybody is playing as like a unit. You've not just got one person that everybody just hoosts the ball up to and then they just do. Do you know what I mean? Like they just do all the work. It's they're playing like as a team. But then I know what you're saying. It's like there's got to be somebody that's going to be there that's going to say like, all right guys, this is where the magic is going to happen. Like we've got this game like in the bag, and like somebody that's literally just up the front there like and running the show and making sure that everybody is performing exact. Do you know what I mean? Like it's kind of cracking the whip a bit on the pitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that will come with time.
Yeah, I mean, you always see that Arsenal are quite slow to start a game, and they come out second half almost as if Arsene Wenger has breathed new life into them. It just seems like they need that person on the field to kind of, come on, lads, this isn't good enough. And it seems like we fail to have that at the moment. My next question to you is your best memory as an Arsenal fan.
I don't know why this is coming into my head in particular, because I think it was just because it was so outrageous, was when Arshavin had just been signed, and I don't know if it might have been against Liverpool, but he'd just been signed, and he was kind of like a pretty much unknown player for Arsenal, and it wasn't really going too great. And then all of a sudden, the guy just comes out of nowhere and scores like a hat trick. Just this unknown guy speeding down the wing and just fires in like a hat trick.
Yeah,
I think that maybe just because of like the outrageousness of it.
It's the 4-4 against Liverpool you were talking to when he just came out, and it was like all of them were all amazing goals, and it's like you look at the Arshavin himself celebrating. I don't think even himself could quite believe that he'd managed to score 4 goals. But what an amazing game that was!
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It was just one of those.
And my final question to you, because I understand you're a busy guy, is if you could be Arsenal manager for one day, who would you sign and what would you change in the team and why?
I don't know. It's quite hard, this one.
It is quite hard. See, we had this question on the podcast the other week, and I said Marco Reus because I think we need someone down the right hand.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, Marco Reus or Lewandowski.
Yeah,
Lewandowski, somebody from the Bundesliga. That's a great shout.
I mean,
because we've already got like the influence of like Spanish league with Mesut and someone from the Bundesliga, because it brings a different pace to the Premier League, which is like it's up there as like one of the biggest leagues in the world, and it's got pace. But having those players that come in and do something, it shakes things up a bit. I don't think other teams expect it as much. I mean, obviously, like other teams have got players in the Bundesliga, not saying that they don't, but it's bringing a different chemistry onto the pitch, I think. So yeah, like Lewandowski would be a great shout.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, you look at Arsenal this season, and don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Olivier Giroud, and I'm also a massive fan of Theo Walcott. But the chances they've squandered this season, you kind of think, if you'd have put half of those chances away, I think we'd probably be clear in the league right now.
So, yeah, it's the difference between being fourth or first, isn't it?
Yeah. Before I go, I did put out onto Twitter that I was going to be interviewing you, and I have got a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Wonderful. So I've got Kane_U_dig_it, and he asks, does Ramsey need to go back on the right hand side for the sake of balance?
It's a great shout. I think that could definitely so long as if he plays on the right, because he's not left-footed.
No, what we've seen when he plays on the right as well is that he'll make a run and he'll cut in, and it was quite effective. And he was
Makes
playing
all
there
the
before he
difference.
got his injury as well. Yeah, but I mean, kind of Joel Campbell has come in and kind of made the position his own.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and the final question is Theo good enough to go to Barcelona to clean Messi's boots, maybe?
I think he could be, but we want to keep him.
Yeah. Are you a big fan of Theo Walcott? I named my dog after him, so I'm quite a fan.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great. When he's, the speed of the geezer is unbelievable. So
Yeah, and
can't fault him.
does it concern you that he's had a bit of a barren run in front of goal lately?
I think it's just, like one of them things where he's just had a couple of bad games, bad day at the office type thing. But, it doesn't concern me because it will definitely iron itself out. He's been one of those players where, like, as soon as he gets, like, the wind in his sails, he'll be soaring and then he'll be scoring, do you know what I mean, 2 goals a game or...
Yeah, definitely so. Right then. I think that's about it for today. It's been a pleasure having you join me and being able to interview you,
Pleasure's all
Alfie.
mine, Matt. Thank you very much.
No, you're an absolute gentleman. We'll post all of the links to all of your material and the single, Hey Now.
Thank you very much.
And we wish you all the very best for the future. I should just say as well, if you wanted to follow the band on Twitter, they are at We Are The Ocean. And I should also send a very big thank you to at Shoot Music, who hooked us up with this interview. So a big thank you.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
And finally, to you, Alfie, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, Matt. Pleasure's mine. Thank you very much for having me.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ta.